Welcome, fantasy football nerds. This is the fifth down. I am Johnny Slokes, and with me always on my right.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's K-Mill.
Yeah, we're back after taking a couple of weeks off. I know you went to Colorado. You have a nice time over there?
Yeah, it was fun. I got to watch my little brother graduate high school, and I got to get really shithoused with my family, and that's how it was.
Yeah, and you brought back some Colorado Native. It's an IPL, not an IPA, but it tastes really good.
If you guys are in Colorado, check them out. Brewed by Coors. It's great stuff.
Yeah, you can only get it in Colorado, right?
Yep, that's right. Only in Colorado.
Yeah, man. Well, a lot of shit's been happening to the fifth down since our last show. Today is actually our first live broadcast.
Yeah, pretty excited about it.
We're on RabbleTV, so that's awesome. We're a proud member of the UNB network. It's an online sports network. It covers pretty much like every sport. I don't think they had any fantasy football podcasts up on there, so they made us a member. So I'm very grateful for that. The link for that is unbtechnetwork.wix. That's wix.com/fantasy, and that's where we're gonna be at for it now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're gonna do some recorded podcasts too over the time being, but this is where we're gonna be for a little bit. So
yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of draft strategy today. I figured it's late March, so it's soon enough, right?
Yeah, soon enough. It's never too early to get started for your fantasy football season.
I know. Like, are you sick of all these fantasy football apps, or are your in-laws in town? Well, you can't get to a computer to change your lineups? Well, go to Google Play and look up this app, the Fan Up Network. It's all your fantasy teams on one easy-to-use app. It's convenient for on the go. You can use it. It's really easy. All you got to do is add your players, and it syncs your league to it, and voila.
Yeah, it's always great, especially this time of year, to get lineup advice and especially draft strategy advice.
And they do more than just football, too. They do all sports. So.
Yeah, always never too early for fantasy football, I say.
All right, so before we get started, we want to go over some news and notes. Have you heard anything crazy over the past couple of weeks?
Well, I think the biggest news is Tyler Eifert. What is it, 3 months?
Timetable is 3 to 4 months, actually.
Wow.
So he could be missing a couple of games. So, yeah, his ADP is definitely going to drop a little bit.
Yeah, and speaking of draft strategy, he's a guy that now with the injury news, you could probably get him in a steal.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an extra roster spot for a tight end and you want to get someone who has like a favorable matchup for the couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, he's a guy you're definitely going to want to stash in your benches, guys.
So, yeah, I heard Deion Lewis should be ready to rock and roll beginning of the season. So I'm glad. I'm a big fan of his. I kind of discovered him like after week 1 last year.
Okay, Johnny, you don't have to suck his dick, all right?
All right, you heard about Sammy Watkins. I'm sure everyone has it. It's old news. Ladarius Green getting some ankle surgery.
This is actually something I did not know about, actually, so I'm glad I'm hearing about this. So ankle surgery, right?
Yeah, he's getting ankle surgery. He will be back for training camp, but you got to think, maybe does that hurt him maybe like to learn the playbook, or do you think he still has plenty of time? I think he has plenty of time.
I think he's got plenty of time because, like you said, he'll probably be ready for training camp. I mean, OTAs are a big deal, but they're not a big deal. So, I'm really not too concerned about this. I still have Ladarius Green as one of my big sleepers this year. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to get used to some good return.
I think the sleeper's woken up. I think people are starting to realize, man.
Yeah, well, I think our word's getting out.
I mean, I'm sure I could look up his ADP real fast. It's probably rising.
Here, hold on.
I'd have to
Don't waste your time. Let me check.
All right, well, we'll wait for you.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah, but moving along, Abdullah is getting shoulder surgery. He's another guy that won't make it back until training camp. I mean, I wonder who's going to take the first team reps over there in Detroit.
Yeah, that's going to be a real big mystery. I have no idea. Abdullah, though, I'm still not high on him. I really don't know where we're going to be going with him.
Have you heard anything about Arian Foster? Last I heard that he left New England without a contract. Miami's talking to him, and he might need another month to get his physique back up because he said he's still not ready.
Yeah, right.
I think he won't get signed until he's ready, though.
It looks like the consensus is actually, now that you bring it up, I think people are catching on to Ladarius Green with that fit in Pittsburgh. I think it's now looking like the consensus is he's gonna probably go out of all the tight ends number 7. Maybe not
seventh tight end off the board.
7th tight end off the board. So you think about that, you're probably looking at like 5th round value for him.
Well, according to Fantasy Football Calculator, they have Ladarius Green as he's been taken as early as the 5th round and as late as the 13th. So he's
if you get him any time after the 5th, that's great value.
I think
even in the 5th.
Overall, it looks like he's 109th player taken off the board in a 12-team setting. That's what, like double-digit rounds almost, right?
Oh yeah,
almost. It's like that's like 9th, 10th round.
Yeah, he's something. He's some guy that if you're playing with a lot of guys that haven't played before, they're not going to know who this guy is. They're gonna recognize the big names like Gronkowski. But if you're playing in a league where not a lot of people are aware of it, Ladarius Green is somebody you can get later and get really great production from later in the season.
All right, right on. So Kelvin Benjamin practiced for the first time since he tore his ACL.
That's great news.
In case you guys are like living under a rock, he is his rookie year he had over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. So I'm kind of eager to see what he can do. Maybe Cam Newton can hook up with him and salvage something there.
Now, I got a question for you, Johnny. Just real quick, do you think that Kelvin Benjamin, does this hurt Ted Ginn, or what does this do to this whole Carolina's receiver situation?
Honestly, I never even thought about Ted Ginn at all, really.
Yeah, he's an afterthought in my mind too.
I mean, he's a one-trick pony, really.
Really, yeah, exactly.
He looks so awkward when he's running, and then the ball's in his hand, and then it's on the
ground. Yeah, and not to mention Drop City, bitch. Yeah. Drop City.
So, some hilarious news. Trent Richardson has a hamstring injury. I didn't even know he could run that fast, but apparently he can.
Well, I think what you're meaning to say is I think he just ran into a brick wall, like he always does, and then that's how he injured it.
And last but not least, Jimmy Graham and Thomas Rawls are expected to be back week 1. I don't know how I really feel about Jimmy Graham quite yet. I feel like maybe he could still be a red zone option, but I don't think he's going to be able to have the same kind of burst and speed that he once had.
If we're talking about Jimmy Graham and Thomas Rawls in the same sentence, we're talking about peaks and valleys. Rawls, very high on my draft list. Jimmy Graham, he's a guy I just want to stay away from.
All right. Well, since we're kind of on the topic, before we get to talking about like individual rounds, if you guys are going into your draft, my number 1 rule for you is to know your league. Know who's in your league, what players that they have tendencies to like and draft more. Know if they're homers or not.
Yeah.
Know stuff like that. Also, know your scoring system. If you're playing in a standard scoring system where it favors touchdowns, you're not going to get any help by drafting a guy that's getting like 90 catches for like 900 yards and like 4 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
But PPR, maybe that's not too bad.
Yeah.
But also, I wanted to know about what your opinion is about Empire Leagues, where you kind of like take a chunk out of your pay-in and put it aside into basically like a lottery pot that you can win after a certain amount of years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'm still getting the gist of it. So what is it exactly like? So each year, if you don't win the pot, it carries over.
Yeah. Say like the buy-in's $150.
Right.
You take $50 out of that. You put it into the pot. Times that by 12 teams. That's $600. And then it rolls over to the next season, and whoever won the following season before and they win again, they can win the pot. If not, then it keeps on rolling over to the next season.
So they have to be back-to-back champs to win it.
Basically.
Wow, so that's a hefty pot right there.
It could get pretty good if you're in a competitive league.
I think that would be pretty cool if you did back-to-back years, or if you're in a league where you have the same guys each year, you have the same 12-team league.
It seems like it's more suited towards like a keeper or a dynasty league, but I really like that idea. I want to implement that this year.
I think we should do it. Yeah. I think that would be cool.
And my final rule, well, I guess my other rule that I have when you're going into the draft board is, don't be a rankings bitch.
Yeah.
Like, I got to draft this guy because he's ranked higher. Well, Yeah, what if that's not the guy you want?
Yeah,
That's why it's important to have tiers. Like, after this is my cutoff. Like, after this guy, I was waiting until later to get the next guy. You got to work the ADP a little bit.
Yeah, it's never a good idea. Well, sometimes if you're sitting there, don't reach. I think that's one of my biggest rules is don't reach. So if you're sitting there and you got like, you know, the number 1 overall pick, like don't go, well, I'm a Cardinals fan, you know, I like David Johnson, I'm gonna grab him. Like grab the obvious choices, like maybe, you know, the consensus number 1 or number 2 overall, but don't like reach, you know. And the other big thing is too is that Johnny's right. You know, don't sit there and be a rankings bitch where, you know, you're like, hey, should I draft this guy? It says here on the Yahoo site that I should draft him now because he's the best value. Like, look at what you want from your team and do that. So you could be, I'm geared towards running backs, I'm geared towards wide receivers, you know? Like, figure what you want out of your team out.
I know this is another thing that I did last year is I got a pen and paper and I wrote everyone's name down in the order that they were picking, and as they'd pick, I'd write down the name that they had, and then I'd see what positions they had and what positions they need, and then I could draft a quarterback. Like, oh, this guy needs a quarterback, so I better get my quarterback before he gets a quarterback, because he might take the quarterback that I want.
Yeah, that's another thing. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because draft flow. I remember last year, me and Johnny were in 2 leagues, and I know in one of them, I was going to wait on a quarterback, and I was waiting, and I was waiting, and I was waiting, and then all of a sudden I saw quarterbacks flying off the board, and I was like, oh shit, if I don't act now, I'm not going to have a quality quarterback, or I'm going to maybe have a streamer next year. So fortunately, like, I think one of the last guys on there was Tony Romo. I grabbed him. We all know what happens with Tony Romo last year, okay? Don't laugh at me, but I grabbed Tony Romo. Later in the season, I was able to finagle Carson Palmer off of Johnny. So it ended up working out for me. But you know, like you got to know your league. Like, look at where everybody's going. If you see some idiot draft a kicker, don't just go follow suit and draft a kicker.
I think that happened as early as like the 8th, 9th round.
That was idiotic. I have no idea how that happened.
Someone took Gostkowski in like the 9th round. I was like, wow.
And I will revisit this draft story. The craziest thing I ever saw was the Philadelphia Eagles defense get drafted number 1 overall. Yes, folks, that really happened in one of my leagues last year.
The work league, right?
Yeah, that was in our work league. Somebody drafted the Philadelphia defense.
He claimed that it was an auto pick, but it happened almost instantly as soon as the draft started.
Yeah, there's no way that was an auto pick. He can claim that he didn't get it or whatever, but that was so weird. I have never seen anything that crazy before.
And I'll take cheers to that.
Cheers.
All right, so let's just jump right into it, right?
All right, let's do it.
So a lot of people they like to focus in on the first round, but I feel like some people they'll take some risk in the first round, and I'm not normally a guy that likes to take a risky pick in the first round. I try to pick as safe as possible. Like, what do you look for in your first round pick?
Well, last year, as you saw, I was in one league. I took a little risk, and in the other league, I played it a little safe. Got the, you know. So here's my thing. I think that if you're in a league where you play every year with the same guys, you know, it's not wrong to take a chance. But you also have to understand, with your first round pick, you want to get a stud. You want to get the guy that's going to be your rock all year round, that you can depend on week in, week out. That he's not going to blow up on you or anything like that. You know, he's gonna stay consistent throughout the season. So that's what I look for, consistency. So don't be a rankings bitch, but also look at it and go, this is my guy right here. He's going to get me consistent points each week, you know, no matter what.
Yeah. See, me, what I look for is I'm open to taking either running back or wide receiver.
Sure.
And what I look for is dependability. They have to be dependable week in, week out, like you said, consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't want a bad track record. Like, I want them to have like a healthy injury past. Like, I don't want them to be injury prone. They have to be durable.
Yeah, and another thing, just interjection real quick. One strategy I do have is very rarely, I don't almost never take rookies in the first round.
It's interesting you said that. I'll bring that up a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I got some good stuff on that. Yeah, but anyways, as I was saying, like they have to be the consistent, durable. What I look for is a high volume. Like, is this guy gonna catch 100 passes and get you 1,500 yards, or is this guy gonna get 200 to 300 touches? Like that's what I look for. Obviously, you want double-digit touchdown appeal as well.
Volume's huge. Volume's huge.
Yeah, like players that I look for is like. I look for Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Beckham. I like all of them inside the top 5. I know he's injury prone. I just said I like durable players. I still like Bell, just maybe not so much in like the top 5, but maybe. AP obviously is very dependable.
So it's safe to say you're taking a wide receiver in the first round.
Well, even towards like the back end of the first round, I like DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe if I'm picking around that like 6, 7, 8 round or pick, I'm getting Gronk, or I like David Johnson back there. I
love David Johnson.
I don't really like David Johnson as much anymore because I'm starting to realize it's starting to smell like a lot like a C.J. Anderson from last year, like a short sample size intermixed with like just still being young.
Agree to disagree there, but I do see what you're talking about because let's look at it real quick. Arizona's a pass-first team, so David Johnson maybe not going to be the centerpiece of that offense, but I still love the upside. I love it.
He loves to score touchdowns.
Oh, and I love it when David Johnson scores touchdowns. I had that dude stashed for half the year on my league, and then when he finally blew up at the end of the season, I was like, "Fuck you! I told you so."
Trust me, I hope he's more like a Matt Forte.
I do too.
But he's faster and he's stronger, so.
That's what I love about David Johnson. So.
Another guy I wanted to ask you about, do you think this guy deserves to be a first-round pick? I'm going to go bring up the ADP real fast, but I'm pretty sure he's been going in the first round. How do you feel about Allen Robinson going in the first round?
I mean, here's the thing. He had such a great year last year. We're going to see some drop-off, obviously. But I'm telling you, I love A-Rod.
He's currently averaging right around like the 10th pick overall.
Yeah, that's exactly where I think he should go too, because I think obviously if you're getting him in the top 8 picks, that's reaching, but I like him right at that 10. He should go in the first round definitely, but I like him at the back end of that first round.
How do you feel about AJ Green going in the first round?
I don't like it. I'm not as high.
Really?
Yeah,
that surprises me because the news that just came out.
You know what? I like AJ Green. I do, but I like him at the top of the second.
I feel like he's kind of moving up in my books a little bit now that Tyler Eifert got injured. He might miss a couple of weeks. It might take him a couple of weeks to integrate from the surgery. I think AJ Green might get a little bit of an uptick towards the beginning of the year even. True.
And if we're also talking on that same set, like let's talk about the you got to talk about the quarterback situations on each team. You got your Demaryius Thomases that maybe aren't going to benefit next year because they have a lower tier quarterback, so he's going to drop off obviously. So that of course could move AJ Green back in the first round, stuff like that.
He's currently getting 11.8 overall. It's like back end of the first.
Yeah, that's where I like him right there. Honestly, I think that's where he should go. Me myself, I like him right at the top of the second. That's where he should be going in my eyes.
So, what are you leaning? What position are you leaning more towards in the first round?
Well, to be honest with you, I think that this year I'm going to take more of a mixed approach. I think if I, depending on where I draft in the first round, because it's my whole draft strategy is really going to depend on where I go in the first round. So obviously, if I got the number 1 overall, I'm taking Antonio Brown, and then the next round, I'm looking at fucking a badass running back.
You're gonna be waiting to the end of the second though. So
that's true.
I mean, let's see what kind of guys would be available there.
Yeah. Let's check that out.
Like you got. Like the back end of the second round, you got like a Mark Ingram, you got maybe a Thomas Rolls.
Well, see, I love me some Mark Ingram.
Some Doug Martin. I think Doug Martin might end up moving up further though once it comes towards September.
Right, I think he will too.
A lot of it's going to change.
Yeah. This is all tentative right now, but if I can get Mark Ingram at the back end of the second, I love me some Mark Ingram. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, you think that he's going to be another guy that's going to get a lot of receptions, and he should get the majority of the carries.
I'm telling you what, I love him more than I did last year. He's gonna get now fresh from shoulder surgery. He's gonna come back next year, and I think he's gonna be a dynamo. I wouldn't expect him to put up Le'Veon Bell numbers, but I'm gonna tell you he's gonna be consistent week in, week out. So that's the plus side for me.
All right, I just want to look at some of these guys that are currently going in the like we're in a 12-team league.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go currently top 12 overall, and I want you to tell me, like, do they deserve that label?
Okay.
Well, I mean, I already touched on Allen Robinson, AJ Green. I'm assuming that you think Dez should go in the first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about Jamal Charles? He's right there on the cusp.
I don't like him in the first. I like him in the second round. I think that's where he belongs.
Yeah, a little bit too much risk for me to pick in the first round.
Right, and just to touch on that, I'll just really quick tap on a couple things. Injury prone, age, those are not going his way. Plus, crowded backfield in Kansas City. Spencer Ware showed his stuff last year. Showed he could be pretty good. Charmander West, as we call him, here on the fifth down. Charmander West, he actually came in and showed his stuff too. So I'm just saying it's crowded backfield. I'm saying if he starts to struggle next year, he could be a real bust, or he's got bust written all over him in my eyes, because if Ware and West, they show their stuff at the start of the season, and Charles starts to struggle, I wouldn't mind seeing him getting bumped down on the depth chart. Injuries there as well.
You want a new face of the franchise.
I think it's time. Age is not on his side. He's injury prone. I mean,
very interesting. Very interesting. Actually, Niles Davis came out and said that he thinks that starting job could be in his future, even if that's not with Kansas City.
Well, that was what they were thinking.
He used to be the handcuff, and now he's an afterthought.
And that's the reason that a lot of Jamal Charles owners had Niall Davis, and then all of a sudden Carchandrick West comes out of nowhere, and then everybody's like, "Oh fuck, I gotta drop." Yeah, and then it just turned into this big thing.
Oh, hang on, we got a phone call. Let me see if I can put this on a speaker real fast. Yo, what up, Rico?
Yo, it's Rico. Hey, what's up, Johnny?
How you doing, man? Nice little surprise phone call here.
Yeah, I was just listening to your guys' podcast, you and K Mill, and I just wanted to ask you a question.
All right, what's up, man?
So, I've been listening, and I haven't heard any talk about LaShawn McCoy.
That's an interesting name.
And you've seen what he can do in the NFL. Last year, the Buffalo Bills, they kind of, didn't do much. A lot of people had high expectations for him because of that defense. And, we got LaShawn McCoy that could be a team to watch out for, and they kind of didn't do anything. What do you think about LaShawn McCoy as far as fantasy football goes? Do you think he can get back to that, 10 touchdowns, 1,300 rushing yards, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, that's well within his range. Obviously, he's in one of the most run-heavy offenses in all the NFL. I mean, Rex Ryan loves to run the football. Tyrod Taylor's a scrambling quarterback that only helps matters more. But the only thing I have wrong with McCoy is he has some really talented backups that are behind him that are eager to get on the field. Like Carlos Williams is a touchdown machine. Mm-hmm. Like I see him stealing some work away from McCoy this year, but that's why I think McCoy is more down towards like the third. He's like a third-round running back, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have to.
He should go in the second.
Yeah, I mean he can go in the second. He's gone. I've seen him go in the first before. I'm just saying I think he's more.
I like him in the back end of the second.
I'm a little bit lower on him, more towards like the early third, but. He's a guy that, and I think they got a pretty rough schedule too.
Well, here's the thing. I think the only reason that we even know of Carlos Williams is because Shady McCoy got hurt last year. That's the only reason we're even talking about him. He
was doing it before he got hurt too, though.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
His first like 6-7 games, he had a touchdown.
Sure, he's got that touchdown upside, but I still side with Shady on this one. I like him in the back end of the second. I think you're going to get great value for him. You're going to get your touchdowns. You're going to get your yards per carry. I think that he's what you want. Especially if you're drafting in the back end of the second, I think he's exactly what you want in a running back.
Was your
You're not overpaying for him at that point.
I sure as hell don't think so. I mean, definitely, if you're getting him at the top of the third, you're getting more than what your value is for him. So I think that's great.
Usage also plays a big part in it. He's one of the most heavily used running backs within the last 5 years. So he's got a lot of treads. Yeah, a lot of tread on the tires.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
And I know we just already talked about the news and notes, but did you guys heard that Marshawn Lynch might come out of retirement?
I heard that. I'm not putting too much stock into that because it's Richard Sherman talking, and I really just don't even listen to that guy. So,
all right. So, is your question sufficiently answered, Rico?
It is, Johnny.
You got anything else?
No, I don't. I'll just keep listening to you guys.
All right, man.
Great information. I enjoy listening to you.
All right, brother. I enjoy having you on. I hope to have you on more in the future.
yeah, we'll see you later, Rico.
Okay, Kendall.
All right.
Hoorah.
Love you, brother.
All right.
Yeah, I like having Rico on. I think that he excels more in other different kinds of shows other than this. But he did bring up a good point, though.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't talked about Shady McCoy, and I'm glad that he brought that up.
I just don't feel like I was gonna bring him up, just not at this point in the show.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we touched on that because we'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah. So what I was wanting to bring up is we were talking about, like, is there anybody else that you would consider that in the first round that's maybe not actually like have an average ADP in the first round? Like you got, like, I'm talking about guys like a Jordy Nelson, a Lamar Miller, maybe even a Keenan Allen, or maybe a Alshon Jeffrey. Those types of players.
Yeah.
What about Devontae Freeman? I don't know. I know neither one of us really are too high on him.
Yeah, I don't like that. I there's a lot of these one-hit wonders around, so I'm not too high on Devontae Freeman. But I will tell you somebody I am high on that could sneak into that first round or at least give you first-round values. Keenan Allen. That guy, if he stays healthy next year.
He's still hurt.
Hey, it's our job to provide this information to people. So I'm going to let you guys know if you're in a league and you're trying to steal some first round value, maybe coming in the top of the second. I'm telling you, Keenan Allen, man, that is a great pick.
Yeah, he was on an amazing pace last year.
He was on my team. He was killing it, and then unfortunately lacerated kidney, and then I was like, I hate you, Keenan Allen.
Well, at least that's not an injury that's common.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking for him. He spent a lot of time off last year. It broke my heart to see him, out rest the season. I was so disappointed. But I think he's a guy that you're all going to want to target there. Top of the second round, man. That guy is going to be excellent.
Right, so we're going to move on to out of the first round now.
Okay, all right.
So say that your first round, like a lot of receivers came early. They're probably going to either keep that trend going. It's going to be one of two things. They're going to keep that trend going, or they're all going to start looking for that running back in the second round. This really helps if you're picking towards the back end of that second round.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just see how they're picking, because there's going to be a positional run. It's either going to be a bunch of receivers or a bunch of running backs. What I want to do is, if everyone's picking that running back in that second round, I'll gladly take one of these receivers that are going in the second round. There's some good receivers going in the second round. Like, name some of these receivers that are going in the second round, like a Jordy Nelson, Keenan Allen, Sean Jeffrey, Mike Evans. Like, those are some pretty good. Even maybe I've seen Amari Cooper in there a couple times. Like, Sammy Watkins is in the second round. Like, there's a lot of good receivers in that second round.
Oh yeah, I'll take that all day.
As opposed to some of the running backs that I'm not as big of a fan on, like a Jamal Charles and Devontae Freeman, Thomas Rolls, like.
Not to mention even a Lamar Miller, because
I like Lamar Miller.
Yeah, I know you love Lamar Miller, but I have some very valid questions about Lamar Miller. Like, is he really going to be that guy in Houston? We saw what he could do in Miami. There's a whole bunch of question marks, like the scheme. Is Brock Cockswallow, is he going to come through? Is he going to benefit him, or is he going to be a detractor from his fantasy value? So he's a.
Bro, I love what Houston's doing on offense right now.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't really think that, as in your words, Cockswallow is the greatest quarterback in the world, but he was the best quarterback available in the free agency. They needed one desperately bad because Hoyer wasn't doing shit. So they got him. They went out and said, you know what? We need a running back. Foster's hurt too much. So they went out and got Lamar Miller. They got Hopkins. and they went out and drafted Will Fuller, and they got a budding tight end that's in his second season that actually looked pretty impressive the first year. I really like that balance they have on offense. So I think that they can all have potential of doing pretty decent.
Just a little side note, just as you're saying, Johnny, if Houston doesn't get it done this year, they have no excuses because they have an absolutely front-loaded offense and they have a dominant as ever defense.
I wouldn't say it's totally front-loaded, but I mean they could use a better quarterback. But they do definitely have a lot of nice toys over there.
As a Denver fan, I'm telling you, this isn't because I'm bitter. Trust me, it's not because I'm bitter. But you know what? Brock Osweiler, I'm not sold on him, and I wasn't even if he would have signed in Denver. I'm just not sold on the guy. So we'll see what he can do. But you know what? I totally agree with you, Johnny. Maybe they could use a better quarterback there. But Lamar Miller, I'm not completely sold on him, but I'm telling you, I had him on my fantasy team last year. Dude's an absolute monster. I do like him. I just don't like him that high.
So, like, do you kind of what kind of like thing are you? Is what you're looking for? Are you looking for like a Lamar Miller in the second round, or are you probably gonna take like one of those nice receivers?
Obviously, all of it depends on value, but I think depending on which direction the first round goes, if the trend goes running backs in the first round, you see Le'Veon, you see David Johnson, you see Todd Gurley fly off the board.
Would you be happy with like an Allen Robinson Lamar Miller pairing?
Yeah, I think for the most part I consider that a win.
I'm saying like say you pick at the end of the first round and like you got Des Bryant, Allen Robinson, AJ Green, and then you got Jamal Charles, Freeman, Nelson, and Lamar Miller. Like what kind of combination would you be looking at there?
You know, I think out of all those guys you named, I think the best pairing would be Allen Robinson, Lamar Miller pairing. I do like Lamar Miller. I think
that's kind of what I was thinking. That's why I asked you that one first.
Yeah.
Although I really wouldn't mind having like an Allen Robinson and like a Keenan Allen matchup.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
The thing is,
I'm not really as big on Allen Robinson this year, but that would still be a pretty good pairing.
Everything I'm hearing out of Cowboys camp is great this year, and the only reason I'm shying away from Dez is, you know what? Even though any kind of doctors could say that Tony Romo is completely healthy, the only thing that scares me is the what if thing, because I didn't even expect him to get injured last year, and he did. And when Tony Romo gets injured, it affects everybody's fantasy value around him. So that's what scares me about that Dallas team this year.
You know what's crazy? It's a player that we really haven't mentioned yet, but it's a player that I've seen go in the first round, and he is a rookie.
Oh, I already know what you're talking
Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
I've seen him in the tail end of the first round. Do you think he deserves that?
It all depends, because you know, I know you're working on an article right now talking about all these first round running backs that have been drafted, and they haven't really got a return for their value. Here's my thing. Last year, I had Todd Gurley on my team, and it ended up being an excellent acquisition because for half the season, that dude was on a straight war path.
You didn't have to burn like a first or second round.
Right, that's true. I traded for him later because people were like,
even then, I think he got drafted like 5th or 6th round.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
I'm talking about like Ezekiel Elliott. You might have to pick him in the 1st or 2nd round. If that's the cost that I have to pay to get Ezekiel Elliott, I probably won't have him on any of my teams.
Yeah, I doubt.
It's not that I doubt his talent or I doubt that he's going to do well. It's just there's so many other players I'd rather have in his spot.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, even if he comes in back into the 1st round, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I could have him. Or I could have an AJ Green. And I'd take AJ Green over Ezekiel Elliott all day because I know what AJ Green can do. I don't know what Ezekiel Elliott can do.
According to Fantasy Football Calculator, listen to this crazy-ass spread about him.
Okay.
He was taken as high as the 1st overall pick.
Wow.
But he was taken as low as the 8th round.
You must be a Cowboy fanatic.
Yeah, that's probably some homer. But I'm saying his average right now is like he's going like back into the 3rd, early 4th. But I've been seeing him go a lot earlier than that too.
Yeah, see.
That ADP is gonna rise a lot come September.
Yeah, definitely.
Just think about like your remember Amir Abdullah last year? How he started out like in the summertime he was like like 5th, 6th round, but he creeped up into like the 3rd, 4th round by come draft day, and it burnt some people.
Oh yeah, ended up being a complete bust.
I mean, since the year 2000, there's been 40 running backs in the NFL that were drafted in the NFL draft in the 1st round. And out of those 40 standard scoring, only 8 of them have finished as an RB1.
That's really surprising.
Yeah. That's 20% of the. That's 20%. The names are obviously LT was amazing his rookie year. Joseph Adai, he had like.
I hate that.
Peyton Manning probably had more to do with that than anything else. But he also had 2007 was a good year. Had Marshawn Lynch and Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson finished the 3rd overall. And Marshawn Lynch finished as number 12. You had Doug Martin, Trent Richardson in the same year. And then last year, Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's really not a whole lot others that finished as RB1s.
Yeah. So
there's quite a bit of RB2s and RB3s. That's
right.
still good, but I don't want to spend a 1st or 2nd round pick for an RB2.
Yeah, I was gonna say the moral of the story is, if you're going to spend a mystery pick on a guy that you have no idea about coming out of college, do it in the 2nd or the 3rd round, because the 1st round is not the place to do that.
And I'm not trying to hate on the guy at all. I think he's going to be a really good he's going to be a really good running back. I could see him being an RB1. Like, I could see that.
Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah, exactly.
But, there's just other guys there that I like.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no other way to explain it. I like other people.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not comfortable with taking the risk associated with him.
So, in the rounds 2 through 4, is there any quarterbacks that you're willing to take within those rounds?
2 through 4? 2
through 4.
That's
you know what kind of quarterbacks are going in 2 through 4.
Yeah, that is true. I do know what quarterbacks are going 2 through 4. That's a really, really good question, because I'm at a loss here. I mean, you know what? I'm going to bypass your question with saying that I'm going to take, average draft position for a guy like Eli Manning is, from what I'm looking at, in the 10th round.
And what site is that one that you're using?
Fantasy Pros. You're
using Fantasy Pros. Yeah, that's right about where a Fantasy Football Calculator has him as well. I think that's great value.
Oh, I think that is too, and that's my point exactly. Is I'm going to jump into it real quick. Is that, in the 2nd or the 4th round, that's not the place I want to be drafting a quarterback. I want to sit there and I want to get my team completely loaded, and then my quarterback's kind of like an afterthought, because you can get a guy like Eli Manning who consistently finishes as a quarterback 1 year in, year out, but it's kind of like, it's not to say that he's overlooked, it's just that people just forget about him. He's an afterthought.
So Cam Newton, he's going probably in like the 3rd round, or you're not high on him at all?
No, absolutely not. No, if I'm not saying that it's a bad pick. I'm saying that the signs point to some regression next year. I think that you look at a guy like Cam Newton, he's never had a season as great as last season in his career. I'm thinking it could possibly be an outlier year.
You don't think you can duplicate that even with Kelvin Benjamin coming back?
I think that's a big step, but I'm still not sold. What he did last year was simply amazing. Like, I can't tell you how many times I had to face a freaking Cam Newton on my fantasy team, and he blew the hell up. Scored like 70 goddamn points.
Yeah, he had some pretty monster seasons last year, or monster games last season. So where do you see Cam Newton finishing overall at quarterback?
Oh, I mean, I'm not going to be a stiffler. I'm not going to be a complete Cam Newton hater.
Do you think he'll finish in the top 5?
I'm gonna put a maybe on that one. I say definitely in the top 10. I would say it's about a 50% chance he finishes in the top 5. I will say that.
I'll go ahead and say that he'll probably finish in the top 5. I'm still with you. I don't think he's going to duplicate what he did last year, but I think he'll still have a fine season. I just wouldn't want to pay his price tag for where he's going in this draft.
Right, exactly, and not to mention you got the guy drafting him in your league. Whoever drafts Cam Newton, think about it. If he does have some regression, well, whoever you got with your pick, where Cam Newton was taken, you're a step ahead of that guy.
I mean, I think me and you and the entire staff at Fifth Down, we all have like the same kind of philosophy. We don't really want to spend those high picks on like quarterbacks. We kind of like to tend to wait a little bit. Although if I can find a value for somebody, I'll take it. But third round for Cam Newton, I'd rather just get like a wide receiver, running back.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather become really, really loaded on the other side of the ball, except for quarterback.
So are we both in agreement that rounds 2 through 4, there's no quarterback coming off the board for either of us?
No, I wouldn't take a quarterback in the second through fourth round.
Yeah, I mean, granted, you got to know your league, but I just think that I'd rather just wait.
Yeah, and even if too, don't have that knee-jerk reaction. If your league is, you see quarterbacks start flying off the board in the third round for some reason. I don't know why your league would do that, but if they start doing that, don't have that knee-jerk reaction to be like, I got to grab somebody. Just ride it out, let them do what they want to do, grab good value, and maybe later in the draft, you're looking at somebody who, people are sleeping on. You can work out trades later. I'm just saying, don't have that knee-jerk reaction in your draft being like, I have to have a quarterback right now, like a QB1, because sometimes it's just better you don't. And as we were talking about the Fifth Down, we're trying to start a league this year where we only use streaming quarterbacks, owned in less than 50% of leagues. We can sit there and switch them in week in, week out.
Yeah, we're gonna. I think in one of my leagues I'm gonna do that little experiment. I kind of want to see if I can just stream quarterbacks all year and still have like quarterback 1 numbers. It's possible. It's very possible. I know the boys over there at Pyro, they done it last year. And they're made some pretty good predictions. So we're gonna try and do the same thing. But yeah, so we're just gonna go into we're gonna talk about some quarterbacks that you are targeting. Like obviously earlier you said that you'd look for like an Eli Manning. Is there anybody else that you are favoring?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the guys that I like looking at, you see a guy like Carson Palmer. He's another guy that's, I guess getting overlooked. Okay, so I'll tell you somebody. So right now on Fantasy Pros, Drew Brees is rated ahead of Carson Palmer, and I would much rather have a Carson Palmer than I would a Drew Brees. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I have Drew Brees labeled actually as one of my guys that could be a disappointment this year.
I think so too.
He faces a very rough schedule. I mean, think about last year. He was not very good at on the road, but he's really good at home. And guess who he gets to play at home this year? He gets to play. I think it's Denver and Seattle, maybe if I'm not wrong.
That's rough.
And he also has to play Arizona on the road.
Those are 2 great defenses. 3 actually, if you count Arizona now. Yeah, 3 great defenses he has to play.
I'm saying he was good. He was good in about 8 or 9 of his games last year.
And they were mostly all home games.
Yeah, and you're subtracting 2 of those home games away because he's probably not going to do very good against those 2 teams.
Yeah, nobody really will.
That's why I'm really down on Drew Brees.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like Carson Palmer though. Mm-hmm. He's one of the most consistent quarterbacks from last year. He has all kinds of toys to play with. They don't really use a tight end.
What's the average draft position for Palmer?
For Palmer, according to Fantasy Calculator, he's going 78th overall. So that's like what do you say, like round 7, round 8? Yeah,
that's me. If you can get Carson Palmer in the 7th or the 8th round, that's great value.
Yeah, I really don't have a problem with that pick. That's probably one guy that I wouldn't mind getting in that round. But all depends on if it moves up, coming towards September. Who else are you looking at besides Carson Palmer?
I think another guy that's going to get overlooked is Phillip Rivers. I think a lot of these teams, you look at the stars of the game, you look at your Cam Newtons, your Aaron Rodgers, your Andrew Lucks, your Russell Wilsons, hell, even your Ben Roethlisbergers, but you don't look at your Phillip Rivers because he hasn't really
10, 11, 12 round.
Yeah, easily, yeah. And he's going to give you quarterback 1 numbers for sure.
So are you? Those are like the kind of guys that you're looking at?
Those are the kind of guys I'm looking at. I wouldn't even include Tom Brady in that sentence, but he's got a pending 4-game suspension next year, so I don't even know if you...
I honestly... His ADP is going to drop a lot. I have no issue with that.
No, and I don't either, because he's going to be an absolute steal. If you can stream quarterbacks for the first 4 weeks and then get Brady back, he's going to be on a warpath.
And the kind of guy that I'm looking at, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned yet. I hope that his ADP doesn't raise any more than what it is, though, is Derek Carr, currently going 90th overall.
I love that. Yeah, you know what?
Like,
I really didn't bring him up yet, but you know what? That's great that you brought him up. I mean, he's the guy I'm super high on next year. I think he's just going to continue.
There was 11 games last year where he threw for over 2 touchdown passes, and I think like 4 or 5 of them he threw for over 3 touchdown passes.
I will say the only thing I don't like about him is he burnt me on 2 parlay bets in Vegas last year. So
trust
him.
me, he burnt me too. I betted that the Oakland Raiders would beat Detroit, and they didn't. I lost like $400 because of that.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
But yeah, let's go talk about a little bit some value picks that you could probably look for in like the 5th through like 7th round. Right. Like this is like the rounds where like if you're going like receiver heavy in the first round, you're gonna start looking at some value running backs, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like some of those guys that I was looking into that could be like the 5th, 6th round. You can get like a Jonathan Stewart, like a Matt Jones would probably fall through 5 through 7. Like guys that might still get high volume, but they're just not up there in the picks, you know?
Right.
Like, is there any other running backs that you would probably look for in those later rounds? Like, what about like a I don't know if Deion Lewis will fall to the 5th round, but I know he's up there in like the 4th, 3rd, maybe.
I love Deion Lewis at that value, and you know who else too is Carlos Hyde. A lot of people are going to be sleeping on him from last year with that disappointing.
I love me some Carlos Hyde with that Chip Kelly offense.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's going to be great.
And you know he actually has like a really high broken tackle rate.
Yeah, exactly. And two, I really like him in that Chip Kelly offense. I think he's going to excel.
I mean, who else do they have in San Francisco besides him?
Jared Hayne. I think they got rid of him.
No, they cut his. You know, he's moving back to rugby.
Oh wow. Well, yeah. All right. Well, there we go. So yeah, pretty much Carlos Hyde, one trick pony, up there.
I think I was maybe a year too early because Jonathan Stewart didn't get hurt until the end of the year. But if you're gonna get him, man, get that Payne train, baby.
Ooh, yeah. See, I still think you're a little too high on him. I like too late in that in the draft. Maybe your C.J. Anderson's. I think he's gonna go pretty late.
C.J. Anderson, he's been creeping up there a little bit. I think he's still towards the beginning of the 4th round.
I like that value though. If he can deliver on what he's supposed to be doing next year, I think that's great value. I will say though, he does come with some risk because he's kind of a question mark right now. He had an awesome first year with Denver. That last half of the year was amazing.
I am a little bit worried about him because they did draft Devontae Booker.
Yeah, I am too. And Devontae Booker,
he's impressive too, man.
He is, yes. And actually, now that you're mentioning it, I love talking about the Broncos here. Devontae Booker, man, that dude, he actually made a quote the other day, and he said, "I want to be the greatest running back in franchise history." And it sounds like this dude means business, and he's on a warpath. And I bet Denver's kind of like, oh shit, maybe we shouldn't have signed C.J. Anderson to such a long contract because Devontae Booker, he looks like he's motivated, and it looks like he could take the NFL by storm.
He said he wants to steal somebody's job this year.
That I read that too. Yeah. I love that guy's attitude. Obviously, I wouldn't draft him, but I'm just saying that
honestly,
dude,
I wouldn't have an issue if you drafted him real late.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I'm just saying he could steal somebody's carries. Hell, maybe season end he could steal somebody's job. You never know what that guy.
You gonna steal the draft, to steal the job,
dude.
He's Devontae Booker.
I like where Denver got him in the draft. I think that's the greatest thing. I think
was it what 4th round?
Yeah, 4th rounder.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good
for a guy like him. I mean, hell, he could be one of those guys that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. So, is there any other running backs that you could think of? Like, what about like Latavius Murray?
See, now this is the thing at Latavius Murray. He's not somebody that's completely like just, oh my God, look at this guy, But a guy like Latavius Murray, the thing that I like about him, and I mentioned it earlier in the show, is consistency. The thing that you're going to get from Latavius Murray is consistency. He's not consistently bad. He's not consistently overly good, but he's about middling.
He's not overly exciting. He didn't have any of those win you the week type of performances.
Right.
but I mean, he never did like terrible.
Yeah, he's always a dependable running back. Yeah,
it didn't seem like Oakland was really like totally satisfied with him. They did draft a running back, maybe not. It wasn't really that early, but they drafted Washington, and I don't really see him cutting into it too much. But I'm just not a big Latavius Murray fan, to be honest. I mean, he does have some nice value, I guess. But
yeah, that's the thing I like about him too, is that nice value, and I think he will be maybe not the centerpiece of the offense, but he'll be the centerpiece of the backfield. Yeah, maybe he might lose a carry or two to Washington, but in the end of the day, he's the number one guy in Oakland.
He's currently going like back end of the 4th, early 5th. Like, that's not too bad of a spot for him. I'd rather have him over than maybe a Matt Jones.
Oh, easily. Yeah, not even close.
I mean, do you like Latavius Murray more than you like Jonathan Stewart?
No, I like Jonathan Stewart a little more. It kind of sort of depends on a lot of things, like a lot of unknown variables before the season starts, but I do like Jonathan Stewart a little bit more than I like Latavius Murray.
I mean, they both got question marks. I guess that's why they're back here. Like Latavius Murray, I mean, neither one of them are real guys that are going to get a lot of touchdowns, I think, because Oakland seems like they're going to turn into like a throwing team. Carolina, although they're a running team, he gets a lot of those red zone carries taken away from him by Newton and Tolbert. So I guess I kind of tend to lean more towards Stewart because he's more of in a run offense. So I kind of like why I lean towards him a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Cam Newton's going to depend more on him than Derek Carr is going to depend on Latavius Murray, because Derek Carr he's gonna look out there. He's got some great targets, so he's gonna want to air that ball out.
How do you feel about Jeremy Hill? His current ADP is he's a 5th round, 8th pick.
Now, I like that a lot. The only thing is the problem that I had with him last year on my team is that number one, he's always fighting for carries, and I do like the fact that I'm drawing a blank here. Head coach of Cleveland now.
Hugh Jackson?
Yeah, Hugh Jackson. He's not there anymore. And it seemed like Hugh Jackson was a Jeremy Hill hater. Like, I got tired of that guy. I was like, come on, man, give him some carries.
You know, the one thing about Hugh Jackson moving along is I think that actually might make Cincinnati more of a passing team, because Hugh Jackson's the one that loved to run the ball.
I think so, too. But I also think this benefits Jeremy Hill, because I do think that he's a better receiver out of the backfield than Bernard is.
I mean, I really don't have an issue with Jeremy Hill sharing the ball with Bernard. What I really would wish, though, is that he would start running more like how he was his rookie year, like head down, going north and south. It seemed like he was doing a lot more dancing last year, and that's what I was like, dude, you're so big. Just use your size, run through, find that hole, burst up the field.
I think the last thing I want to say on him is that I would have loved for him to do that, but the problem is I think that he was getting so little workload in Cincinnati that he was trying to force plays, or he was going for the big 60-yard touchdown, or whatever, instead of just taking. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. You're totally right. Yeah, he's not taking the 10 yards where he can get him. He's trying to go for the big play, and it's just like, man, yeah, you're right. He needs to get back to those fundamental north-south running, and I think that he'll be all right.
Next few running backs we got a Jay Ajayi, Ryan Matthews, Melvin Gordon. I really, really love Ryan Matthews from a value standpoint.
Oh yeah, I'm all over that one.
They didn't bring anybody in. I thought they would. They didn't bring anybody in.
I'm very surprised about that. Another name that you read off that I like a lot is Ajayi. I think that barring any kind of crazy training camp stories coming out, like some rookie just totally emerging, I think Ajayi, man, I think as long as he stays healthy, which we do know from his college career has been a little bit of a concern, I think this guy could light it up. He's got the speed. We saw it last year, like flashes of it. I think this guy could really be something this year.
I mean, how would you feel about Ajayi if they brought in someone like an Arian Foster?
Yeah, I think they're probably going to give Arian Foster the first crack. I think that kind of piss Ajayi off, but I would be obviously lower on him if they brought Arian Foster in. But then you got to understand, too, that Arian Foster is very injury prone. If he gets injured, Ajayi's the next guy up. I'm just saying there's a lot of excitement surrounding him for me. I think that he's somebody that a lot of people aren't really thinking about, and then you can grab him late.
I think people have more question marks about him than anything else. Like, they're like, hey, is Miami sold on him?
100%. No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
It sounds like the coaches said that he's running away with the job, though. So that's one good thing he has. I mean, he doesn't really have a whole lot of competition right there right now, but. I can't believe this. Chris Berman's going to retire following the 2016 season.
I actually did not hear that. Holy shit, that is crazy.
I just got a news alert just now.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy because
he could go all the way.
He's a staple of my childhood. Yeah, just every day watching the fastest 3 minutes in Monday Night Football, and that guy's always there. That's crazy. All right. So can you keep in mind the running backs that we just named? And then I want you to say, I'm going to name off some receivers, and would you take these receivers over these running backs, okay? Okay.
All right, so you got Jordan Matthews. He's going fifth pick in the 5th round. You got Emmanuel Sanders, 5th pick, 5th overall, or 5th round, 7th overall. And you got Alan Hearns, Eric Decker, Michael Floyd, and Larry Fitzgerald with very similar ADPs. How do you like any of those guys like more than the running backs? Because I definitely like Michael Floyd if he's going in the 6th round.
I love that. And you know what else? I love Emmanuel Sanders too because he's just so dynamic. Like last year, he kind of proved it. I know I'm kind of sitting here being a homer because I'm a Denver fan, but Emmanuel Sanders is a guy who he can do it all. He's a deep threat. He's a small guy, but you know what? He's kind of a little bit of a mismatch with his speed.
I'm totally opposite on you.
Really?
Yeah, I'm honestly like the quarterback situation in Denver is making me.
That's a big question mark. That is a big question mark.
It's making me more scared of Emmanuel Sanders than it is of Demaryius Thomas. Like I like Thomas a lot better.
Really? Because last year he was getting the number 1 corners and he really wasn't doing a whole lot with it. I feel like Demaryius Thomas is going to draw those number 1 corners. That's going to free up Emmanuel a little bit. So
I think it had more to do with Peyton Manning at the helm than Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
And with Mark Sanchez, he can run that Kubiak offense where he can do the rollouts and hit Thomas underneath. I can see that happening a lot this season.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see them wanting Mark Sanchez to do a whole lot, but Thomas will get enough work, I think.
I think he'll get enough work.
And I'm not saying that Sanders is going to have a horrible season. I feel really unsure about him.
Let's just put a disclaimer out there. If you draft a Denver receiver, you are drafting with a bunch of question marks.
It's a risk.
You are drafting with risk. So we're putting that out there.
DT's obviously going a lot earlier than Sanders. He's probably going to 2nd, 3rd round.
See, and that's why I like a Sanders more than like a Thomas because it's a complete crapshoot. And if you can get Sanders for better value, I think I'd rather have him than Thomas, depending on where Thomas is going. And Thomas is going really high right now. So
point well taken. I'm sure we both kind of have the same feelings about Alan Hearns, so we'll just go right over him. How do you feel about Michael Floyd having a breakout year? I mean, it's his contract year.
I think it's completely possible. He needs to fit that pedigree that he was drafted, by the Cardinals with. I think that they expected him to be kind of the heir apparent to Larry Fitzgerald whenever he does hang it up. There's a lot to love about Michael Floyd. I think that's totally in the cards, having a breakout year.
He is all over my radar in every draft I'm going to be doing. If he's going 5th, 6th round, he's all over my radar.
He's my favorite receiver in Arizona right now. I'll say that much.
I mean, in this 5th and 6th round, are you starting to think about taking a quarterback yet?
Yeah, this is where I'm gonna start looking at it, depending on
You're gonna keep monitoring to see if it's coming off.
Yeah, what everybody's doing. I still think though, if I'm seeing guys like Eli Manning still available, I think if I'm depending on where I'm at, I'm looking at it, maybe I think he'll still be available next round. Guys like that, guys that people are overlooking, your Phillip Rivers, your Eli Mannings, those kind of guys. If they're still available and there's a plentiful plethora of them, I would just wait and then be okay, next round. But then there's a point where you're okay, these guys will not be available next round, so then grab them. But yeah, what'd you say, 5th or 6th round?
Yeah.
That's where I'm starting to look at it and seeing where the flow of the draft is going.
I mean, here's some of the guys that are going off in We're gonna start off from the 5th. You got Andrew Luck, Tom Brady, which is obviously he's gonna fall a lot more.
Yeah, I definitely fall off.
Russell Wilson. You got Ben Roethlisberger in the 6th. Blake Bortles in the 6th. Drew Brees in the 6th. And then you got Carson Palmer in the middle of the 7th.
Yeah, I love that Carson Palmer in the middle of the 7th.
I mean, how could you not like that? You know?
Oh man, that is like if I was able to get Carson Palmer in the middle of the 7th, that's extremely great value for me. As long as the only thing is you're drafting with a little bit of injury concern. I know he stayed healthy for most of the year last year. I know he had like a finger problem last year, but if he can stay healthy all next year, you're getting your value and then some. He's got 3 great receivers. He's got a great running back. I mean, there's just nothing not to love about that.
I'm going to ask you this question because you drafted him last year. How do you feel about Andrew Luck going into the 5th round?
I actually like that. I think that he had a slump last year, but okay, so let's be honest, folks. Andrew Luck, completely amazing. Like, just came out of the gate, didn't have a slump or anything, and finally he has a down year, and we're surprised. You know, I mean, it was coming. So I think that next year he's going to bounce back, have a great year. I think 5th round will be a good.
I feel like the 5th round is where he should have gone last year. To be honest.
Yeah, I think so too.
I kind of like where he's at. Not saying that I would take him in the 5th round, but I would definitely consider it.
I would consider it definitely. Yeah,
as opposed to taking like a Russell Wilson in the 5th round, I'd take him over Russell Wilson.
Oh yeah, I would too.
Because Russell Wilson, like, you don't know, are you getting the first half of last year's Russell Wilson or last half of Russell Wilson, or is he going to get some kind of crazy mix in between? You don't really.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's too big of a question mark.
Are they going to be a running team? Are they going to be a passing team?
Yeah, every single time.
Is Marshawn Lynch coming back?
Every single time I've drafted Russell Wilson, it's always been a complete crapshoot. Either he's really good, really bad, but that's what I'm saying. On your fantasy team, you want guys you know are going to be consistent.
I mean, what about so say you wanted to pass over those quarterbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel about going in the 6th round? Would you think about like a Ben Roethlisberger, Blake Bortles, or a Drew Brees? I know we're not really high on Drew Brees, but what about the other two?
Oh, I mean, I love me some Ben Roethlisberger, some Big Ben.
You know,
and Blake Bortles, we all know I'm pretty high on him. I used him last year. He was a great addition. I mean, not much more you can say about that.
Last year, I had my 2 targeted quarterbacks that I was aiming for in a lot of leagues was based off of what I thought they were going to do was Matt Ryan and Ben Roethlisberger. I was like, wow, that's good value, 5th, 6th round. And I'm kind of glad that, well, I can't really say I'm glad that Ben Roethlisberger kept getting hurt because that's not nice. But I think those injuries kind of kept his value right around where it was at last year. And if he stays healthy, he's going to finish like top 5 quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then not to mention his supporting cast stays healthy too. That's going to be another big factor.
I mean, he already lost Montavious Bryant.
Yeah, that dumbass.
We'll talk about that towards like the end of the show about about him. But I'm really not considering Blake in the 6th round, or even the 7th round for that matter. I'm not really a big Blake fan this year, guys. So we're just gonna go and we'll talk about a couple of more guys that are going a little bit later, especially if, like, say you're looking for running backs. I'm just gonna start rattling off some names, and if anyone that pops off your head, oh yeah, I like him, just let me know.
Okay.
So you got Chris Ivory, Duke Johnson, Carlos Williams, T.J. Yeldon, and Frank Gore. Those are all ranging from round 7 through 8. Is there anyone that jumps out at you?
The only one, Carlos Williams, like we were just talking about earlier, a huge touchdown upside. So that's another guy, you could possibly stream, use him in your flex position. There's that touchdown upside.
Well, there's a couple of names that jump out at me, like especially from like a PPR setting. I like myself some Duke Johnson. I feel like Cleveland's going to be throwing the ball out. They're going to be losing.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like he could be kind of like the Deion Lewis of that offense if they use him right.
Yeah, well, last year he was heavily underutilized, and I had him on my team for stretches.
He actually had quite a bit of catches, though.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No.
And another name that popped up my net, you're going to laugh at me, but...
Frank Gore,
man.
I knew you were going to say it.
No, Indianapolis, they didn't bring any running backs in there. I think they might have drafted someone. I'm not sure, but...
Yeah, that was baffling to me. I can't believe that they didn't bring anybody else in to compete with Frank Gore because as Chuck Pagano said, he's beat to hell.
He's not beat to hell. He's beat to shit.
Yeah, beat to shit. He's beat to shit.
And I know we really kind of ignored the tight end position.
Yeah, we didn't really get too into that.
I mean, obviously Greg Olsen and Tyler Reed, Greg Olsen and Jordan Reed, they're going right around like the fourth round. Jordan Reed sometimes creeps into the third. Or would you ever consider those two in that area?
In the third?
Yeah.
I mean,
or the fourth.
The only thing is and this is the thing you got to think about your entire draft is a guy like Jordan Reed is some guy. He's a guy that, man, so tremendous upside. I can't stress that enough. But injury concern. Like a little bit of last year he was hurt. A year before that hurt a little bit. He's hurt here and there. But man, tremendous upside from that guy. Tyler Eifert. Same thing. I know he was injured for last year, but that was kind of more of a freak accident. I don't think it's because he's injury prone.
You're not going to have to get him there though. His stock's going to fall.
Oh yeah, I love it.
So I'm not really too worried about that. I don't really. I mean, I know Jordan Reed's very talented, but it's kind of a high risk picking him in the third round.
Yeah, that's
injury risk.
That's for me, and that's one of my draft rules is don't reach. And I feel like at that point I'm kind of reaching for him. So I don't think I would take him in the third. I think if he fell to the fourth,
honestly,
I would take him.
I'd pick Delaney Walker over all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
He's going later than them too.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, I know that you think that maybe you can be getting a good value out of him this year.
You could.
Because look where he went last year, like fourth, fifth round, and this year he's going like sixth round. That's a little bit better.
That is better. Yeah. Last year where he was going was way too high. I mean, he came right out of the gate and just blew the fuck up, and then everybody was like, "Oh my god, he's the best. He's the next Rob Gronkowski." And then obviously he showed his true colors throughout the season. A guy I'm really looking at though. Top end of that first round is or not first round, I'm sorry, but as the top tier tight ends, like I'm talking top 10 here, I'm looking at Julius Thomas maybe having a bounce back year this year.
You know what, he missed like half the year last year. I think that he could be a sleeper a little bit.
I think so too.
He's got nice value.
Oh yeah, and I like that touchdown upside too. I really feel like he could be a huge red zone target for Blake Bortles.
And listen to some of these receivers that are going like the eighth round. We got Moncrief, Deshaun Jackson, Darrell Green Beckham.
Wow. I like me some Green Beckham. We already know that.
We all know that. I wouldn't mind having me some Dante Moncrief. I'd pick him over Ty. Granted, I know Ty is going a lot earlier, but you're getting a better value out of Moncrief.
Yeah, definitely a better value. But you know what? The big name that rings a bell to me is D-Jax. That's
a lot of people are forgetting about him because of his hamstring injury. He is getting a little bit up there in age. He's like 28, 29 years old.
Yeah, you got those detractors. You got age, injury prone. But man, the guy touchdown upside. I mean, guys, we watched him last year, and he was burning people on touchdowns, like not even close.
Once he was healthy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Once he was healthy, I'm just saying you're drafting with risk, but man, oh man, that guy's got some fucking speed.
And this is like right around like the rounds where you start looking at those handcuffs for running backs too.
That is true.
Like you got D'Angelo Williams that's creeping up into the 9th round. You got Charles Sims in the 9th round. Tevin Coleman in the 9th round. I like all three of those. Especially if you're picking like wide receivers and tight ends towards the beginning of the draft. Well, there you go. You're gonna want to get some guy that might be able to step in there and give you like RB2 value. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Also, think about it. Be a little thief too. Even if he's not your guy and you want to take a flyer in a late round, for a guy like somebody that's injury prone, like I don't know, fucking Le'Veon Bell, you grab his handcuff or something like that, and then right when that guy loses him for the season again, you got his handcuff, you're right there, and then bam, you get all that production in Pittsburgh.
Yep. We are getting a little short on time, so we're just going to start closing things down, but I want to ask you, what do you think about Laquan Treadwell in Minnesota? He's a rookie wide receiver.
Yeah.
They're going in a new direction.
Yeah, no.
How do you feel?
I like it. There's lots to like about Laquan Treadwell, but the thing is too is that I was reading from some scouts. He's got average speed.
He's not the fastest guy.
Not the fastest guy. I think his size is what really makes him a mismatch, and I think that you know what. he's some guy. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. He's a complete crapshoot. I have no idea.
I was kind of hoping that they'd go for like a Will Fuller.
Yeah, I was hoping for that too. But you know what? Now that they went with Laquan Treadwell, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't like that pick. I don't like him. I think he's overrated.
I mean, I'm just not really into it, just because there's really not a whole lot of volume in that passing game in Minnesota over there. They're still relying heavily on the
Yeah,
running
exactly. I don't like Teddy Bridgewater throwing him the ball too. I think that's going to do nothing but detract from his fantasy value. I just think that he's just a non-factor.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's about going to do it for us. You got anything else to add?
You know what? That's all I got.
All right. Thank you guys for joining in on us. For the people that are out there that showed up to our live show, I know some of you guys are out there. I just want to give another shout out. Thank you, UBN, for inviting us to your network. We are appreciated for that. Come check out our link. It's at UNBTech. Network.wix.com/fantasy. Check us out. They also have lots of other sports on there. They don't just cover football. They do everything. They do a little bit of everything. Football, basketball, baseball, hockey, NASCAR, you name it. So just give them a check out. Also, follow us on Twitter at the Fifth Down FF, all one word. Yeah.
All right.
Peace out, Fifth Downers.
Hoorah. All right.